My question, dear compatriots, is that today is February 13th. In this broadcast, we will really be discussing some very important issues, as significant questions are being decided in the world right now, if I can put it that way. A phone call, and we'll talk about the call between Vladimir Putin and Donald Trump, which took place again. There was a discussion for more than an hour and a half, and there are quite important issues to discuss there. And since all of this can apply to us, not just Ukraine, but also to us, before the program begins, they want to address very important issues again. Dear compatriots, you have seen our 3 English translations using artificial intelligence. First of all, I would like to express my gratitude to our compatriot Hamlet Caucasian for his support of this project. I think there will be more people who want it, and we will definitely implement this project together for their benefit. We decided to post the French translation, which is not yet available, because it can become very unclear for YouTube's algorithms. We always prepare our broadcasts with love for our homeland. Now in English, it's natural that the views in English are quite low, 405, 106, 100 views. That's very few compared to our other broadcasts. But considering that it's in English, I think it's normal. That's why it's very important, dear compatriots, that at least during this month, you support us. Please support us with likes and by leaving comments on that content. At the same time, you can easily distinguish between Armenian and English, because if the title is written in Armenian, then that broadcast is in Armenian, while the English broadcast will be posted later. I believe that for the development of our channel and to achieve better results, this will be very important for us. We are also implementing these English releases on our channel. By the way, you can also share your opinion on how the translations are. I see that the translation often makes many mistakes, especially with names and titles. It translates them incorrectly 1 out of 1 times, but overall it does a pretty good and successful job with the translation. I think there's nothing like this yet in the Armenian YouTube segment. We are the first to try such an experiment on our channel. I hope it won't harm our channel. And that's why I ask you to be very active. Please like and subscribe. And if you can, also support our program. We continue the broadcast, and now let's talk. There is not much to talk about in terms of Armenia from an important event. We have reflected on Nikol Pashinyan's statement in the National Assembly. I can say that we will not discuss the statement made by Nikol Pashinyan regarding the European Union. It is simply important to note in the same 2 sentences that Nikol Pashinyan also believes that the risks regarding Armenia's aspiration to move towards the European Union depend on how quickly and effectively the Armenian state apparatus and legislation can align with European standards. This is indeed a quite difficult process that Armenia needs to go through, and I agree with Pashinyan in that regard, that without it, Armenia's situation is quite complex. The situation is quite complicated, and it is unlikely that this decision will complicate the situation in Armenia, since Azerbaijan always threatens us, and the only restraining force can be the fact that Armenia strives to become a member of the European Union and develop such deep and good relations with the United States of America. But there are really many. You say that I am conducting a positive report, and I am not very new. It annoys people, but there are difficulties and issues. However, I would like to talk about those things, because not everything is good, and it can't be, and not everything is that bad either. We can discuss what might happen in the world right now, what decisions could be made regarding the phone call between Trump and Vladimir Putin that lasted an hour and a half. From that message, we can understand, and it is indeed a correct statement. After that phone call, by the way, there was also a conversation with Zelensky. In Europe, there was a summit of European countries' foreign ministers, and a statement was made regarding Ukraine. In short, in the coming days, There could be very important events taking place, and crucial decisions will be made concerning Ukraine. We are still waiting for the announcement, and during this broadcast, we will try to assess that announcement. What decisions may have been made regarding Ukraine? The phone conversation between Trump and Vladimir Putin makes it clear that the leaders of the two countries are indeed very well disposed towards each other. They have invited each other to visit their countries. One has invited the other to Moscow, while the other has invited him to Washington. They have already agreed on a meeting, and as we mentioned, that meeting will take place in Arab countries. If I'm not mistaken, it will be in Saudi Arabia. China, along with others, has become more active and is now suggesting that the meeting take place in China. Remember, Trump also called on China to become active and help bring an end to the war. Great China had not been active before, but now I understand that the negotiation process has become very active, and a meeting will take place between Vladimir Putin and Donald Trump. Now the Chinese are also trying to become more active, but one could say that their train has already left the station in that regard. And from this, it can be clearly inferred that it is beneficial for China for this war to continue. But I think the conditions are perhaps not there. Although we understand from that message that Trump says it will be very difficult for Ukraine to return to the borders of 2014, their former Secretary of Defense made a similar statement in the United States. And it actually states that those regions which are under Russian occupation will remain so under Russia. Here, under the influence of these territories, it actually tells them, besides there is a hint that presidential elections will be held in Ukraine, it is said that Zelensky's rating is quite low, and there may be new elections. It actually hints that Ukraine may have a new president. Here too, Vladimir's house actually achieves its goal. Some markets will take place. The elections regarding the territories are reaching their goals. I am actually making a statement about the presidential elections. I make this assumption that it is reaching its goals. Regarding NATO, Trump has again stated that Ukraine will not become a NATO member. He says that Ukraine should give up, and it won't even become a NATO member. And from all this, it actually comes out that Putin is achieving those goals, while those goals are not being achieved. Vladimir Putin has very important questions that arise naturally for everyone. Ukraine will remain an independent sovereign country. It will not become entirely part of Russia. This is the general compromise that the parties are reaching. As far as I understand, this is the main point. It's a compromise. There was also a phone conversation between Trump and Zelensky, and they probably discussed these specific issues, their passivity. We know that the U.S. Secretary of the Treasury visited Kiev, and there they are also discussing that $500 billion. The export of special metals from the territory of Ukraine in exchange for aid from the United States of America is also here. It's a bit strange because during Biden's administration, the United States was simply helping Ukraine, but now Trump is making a decision that in exchange for that assistance, Ukraine should even compensate the United States. The European Union is still not demanding anything. The German foreign minister has issued a statement saying that peace must be established, and Ukraine wants peace in Europe. It's not just Putin who doesn't want peace. He states that peace must be established and will happen through force. In addition to that, I mentioned that a meeting took place in Europe. One of the capitals was a summit of foreign ministers, where the Ukrainian issue was discussed. Great Britain also participated there, and there a general joint statement was issued. And in that general joint statement, clear support for the Ukrainian territorial integrity, land, and Armenian people is expressed, etc., etc. As always, that is, the statement of the United States of America differs from that statement in a rather serious way. Trump is currently leaving for Europe, now to discuss various important issues related to Ukraine's fate with European countries and other significant partners. It's also very important to note that in that message or statement regarding the phone conversation between Putin and Trump, among the issues discussed, it was mentioned that Trump and Vladimir Putin also talked about Iran's nuclear program, as well as issues related to the Middle East. At the same time, I mentioned that a phone conversation took place. You can't understand much from the message between Syria's new leader and Vladimir Putin. The only thing we can understand is that there was a meeting. Putin has expressed support for Syria's territorial integrity. Since Trump had a 1.5-hour phone conversation, we know that he made statements regarding Canada, Greenland, Mexico, the Panama Canal, and so on. We also know about the Russian Federation's interests. And if they discussed the Middle East and Iran, I am almost certain that they also talked about the South Caucasus issue. I can't say what they discussed. Naturally, I can't say. I think it will become clear in a very short period in the coming days. However, judging by the actions of the Azerbaijani authorities and their statements regarding Armenia's accelerating Euro integration, the Armenian parliament made such a decision yesterday. After the signing of the strategic document with the United States, everyone is indeed expecting serious changes in Georgia as well as in the South Caucasus. Azerbaijan has realized that they may be completely absorbed by Russia, and that is why Ilham Aliyev is pursuing such a policy not only to please Trump, also to flatter him in such a way that the South Caucasus doesn't end up under Russian dominance. Azerbaijan will completely fall under Russian domination. This is my idea, and Armenia will do the same. It's very confusing in Georgia. I can't say anything about Georgia, but the Georgian government at least officially declares that they are striving to become part of the European Union, etc., etc. But these processes, which are happening in Georgia, need to be studied and understood in more depth, because the position of Azerbaijan and the position of Armenia are already clear in this regard, that they don't want to become completely part of Russian influence. What did Trump and Vladimir Putin discuss regarding the South Caucasus? And when I mention the woman, I think that such a discussion is definitely necessary. Whether it has happened or not, it will definitely happen. I think it will become clear to all of us very soon, and at the same time, Armenia is taking very correct steps these days, as these steps could lead to very serious decisions regarding Armenia as well. In short, to be honest, it seems that a new division of spheres of influence is taking place among the United States, Russia, and China. China has actually fallen behind again due to its policies. But naturally, China is also part of this process, and it's becoming clearer now. A division is being made between Russia and the United States of America. Naturally, Ukraine will not win in this division. During the explosion, it will hold on to and defend its independence and sovereignty, which is, of course, very good and important for us. But I must emphasize that serious concessions are being prepared for Ukraine, and in fact, that decision is being made by the United States. I repeat, our actions now need to become clearer, more specific. And our signals to the European Union and the United States of America should become much more specific. The rest, what does not depend on us, I think, will become apparent very soon. In a matter of days, or at most weeks, but I am confident. I have full faith that everything will turn out very well. And finally, I want to share an interesting piece of information that was reported by one of the publications, stating that American intelligence is aware that Benjamin Netanyahu's government wants to strike Iran, meaning they want to start a war against Iran. What? We have also talked about it for a long time, and he wants to involve Trump in these plans. That is, such work is being done. Now the world is in a rather mixed situation from the Israeli side. Let's hope that these conflict situations will be resolved in some way quickly. And even if a division occurs between the superpowers, then we will find ourselves in the right place at the right time, because there are indeed many concerns. Let me be clear and reiterate that I don't have any specific information or understanding that decisions have been made against us at our expense, but I also don't have any indication that such things won't happen. It's very important that we help ourselves right now. We're talking about the Republic of Armenia so that we can make a historic decision. I hope and believe that everything will turn out well. Goodbye. We'll meet again.